What's up, guys? Today I'm bringing you another video on a potential replacement for Deoxys Defense in the team. This video is a bit longer and a bit different as I can't really experiment that much anymore. We're nearing the end of Season 3, so I'm kind of trying to push for rank 10 and push for a leaderboard position to close out the season. So I actually have found another replacement that has worked really well. So well that I think it might be better in the current meta than Deoxys Defense, and that's Vigoroth Safe Switch. So I'm just going to go over some gameplay videos that detail how Vigoroth will work. This is a bit of a longer video. It shows my climb through rank 10 to 3153, which would be in the top 100 when the leaderboard updates tomorrow. As you can see, first game, Azumarill is in the lead. I've seen a fair amount of Azumarill and then either double Ghost or double Dark teams. And I've actually learned a lot from my mistakes here. So they swap immediately into Umbreon. And in the past, I've been swapping into Vigoroth here because counter super effective against Umbreon. You can spam them down and you can have Bastiodon save for whatever they have remaining. But what I found recently is that a lot of the time they're running a Scrafty with the Umbreon as well. And that makes the games really hard if I just let Victreebel go down or if I let Vigoroth go down, because then Scrafty lines up against Bastiodon at the end. And let's see what they have here. Yeah, so it's a Scrafty. In this case, I do get to the Leaf Blade first. But in cases where you don't, Vigoroth's matchup against Scrafty is much better than Bastiodon's. This team does struggle a bit against Scrafty, though. And actually just fighters in the back in general. So stuff like Toxicroak coming up in the back, or Meganium coming up in the back from a weakened Victreebel. So in the second match, we have a Victreebel mirror. So the way I like to play the Victreebel mirror, as a reminder, is not throw a charge move. So then I'll have two Leaf Blades at the end. But what they do is they switch after this into their own Bastiodon. So I have no idea what their safe swap is, but I get the Leaf Blade off, and they don't shield on Bastiodon. And this is honestly an ideal matchup for me. If it is a Deoxys Defense like I was guessing it was, I want to line up my Vigoroth against the Bastiodon, because lining the Bastiodons up and then Vigoroth versus Deoxys Defense is a guaranteed loss. So in this case, it's actually, they bring back out their Victreebel, and I did not realize I had two Body Slams stored up, so that was a misplay by me. I kind of just let that go, which might end up costing me the game, as they do get to another Leaf Blade because of that. And it turns out they do have a Mew in the back, so they probably thought I had a Deoxys Defense and wanted to line up their Mew versus that, but instead they won't be able to do this, and an interesting charge move comes out as Low Sweep. I've not seen that on Mew before, but really my goal here is just to get to that Leaf Blade and then just finish off their Shadow Victreebel. So even though I do misplay this game, it does end up in a victory. Vigoroth doing what Deoxys Defense would do and just being able to farm down that Bastiodon and be able to bring Body Slam energy into the next fight is pretty huge. So in this fight, this showcases one of the examples where Vigoroth actually kind of has a bit of a worse matchup, and that's versus Registeel. Because if you get Focus Blasted, you faint, whereas Deoxys Defense can tank a Flash Cannon. So what I like to do here is charge up to a Bulldoze and throw the Bulldoze to get the guaranteed shield. If they don't shield, then I save a shield from the Registeel. I only have to spend one there, but they bring back the Swampert, and look at what Vigoroth can do. This is absolutely insane. Body Slam takes out nearly half of Swampert's health. I've got two of them stored up from the Registeel, and Swampert goes down without even getting to a charge move, and without Shadow Victreebel dealing damage to it. So even though you do spend two shields on the Registeel matchup, being able to bring multiple Body Slams into the next matchup is super underrated. Vigoroth deals a ton of damage, and in this matchup they just have a Skarmory remaining, but they hoped with two shields to be fine, but Bastiodon has no issues against Skarmory unless they're running Flash Cannon, which a lot of them are not anymore. So Pelliper lead versus Shadow Victreebel. This is not a lead I've seen very often. I'm not exactly sure how I would play it. I tried this time a different way than most. I usually just switch, but I decided to try and farm them down and only use one shield. So I do that, but now I've got a very low Shadow Victreebel, and they come in with their Meganium in the back. So this is what I was talking about with fighters in the back being very tough. I let this Power Up Punch go. I thought it was going to be an Ice Punch because it was just so fast, but Power Up Punch is the same thing. I'm glad I didn't shield. But either way, they do shield the second Body Slam, and because I don't get to a third Body Slam, I'm in some trouble. My Shadow Victreebel is super low. I use the Leaf Blade to force a shield, but it's going to be probably too little too late here. I'm going to need to get to a charge move on my Bastiodon. I don't shield this Power Up Punch because I know they're going to get to another Power Up Punch, which is going to hit harder than the last. So I shield this instead and just try and make it to this Flamethrower and hope they have like an Altaria in the back, but it doesn't happen, and it's Medicham rips through my team. So I've been debating changing the way I play leads a little bit, where I try and save Victreebel unless I can keep them at higher health, just because Victreebel has to deal with the fighters in the back, as both Pokemon are now weak to fighting. So I swap into Vigoroth into Skarmory, and what a lot of Skarmory players like to do is Brave Bird and then get out. Generally, if they don't, you still want to be charging up anyways in case that they do, and then you can unleash all your Body Slams. So they swap into Meganium. You can see how many Body Slams I get off in each fight. It's absolutely insane. I shield this up so I can try and force a no shield scenario where my team can excel, and they shield as well. I'm not going to quite get to the next Body Slam before the Frenzy Plant, but I do catch the Frenzy Plant with my Shadow Victreebel, and now this Meganium is too low to come in and threaten anything with an Earthquake. So even though they were able to lock in their Skarmory against my Shadow Victreebel, I do feel like I'm in a pretty good position. I bring in the Bastiodon, and I'm just really hoping they don't have Flash. No, they don't have Flash Cannon. They've already used Brave Bird, so at this point they just GG out. I don't know what they had in the back. Perhaps another Flyer or something like that if they didn't think they could beat Bastiodon with a low health Meganium and another Flyer. But this is just another example of where Vigoroth really shines. Vigoroth can beat Skarmory and Altaria in the 2-shield, whereas Deoxys Defense can't beat Altaria in the 2-shield. So it really allows you to pressure those matchups. There are a lot of people getting wise to the whole Deoxys Defense switch-in and sticking in with their Altarias. But yeah, that was my rank 10 set. Unfortunately, it lags, so you can see all the poses and stuff. I'm wearing the new clothes now, but yeah, this matchup we have a Sableye come in. Very standard play, just shield the Sableye, and this is a very popular team nowadays. So what I was talking about was the Azumarill lead into Double Ghost, and this is a team that I think if you play correctly with my team, you will win every time. I've lost to it once to Though Tactical, who's a very, very good player, because I didn't know the team that was coming out yet, and I misplayed it a little bit. So in this case, they just let the Bulldoze through because they think I'm baiting a Body Slam. That's really their only win condition, so honestly, it wasn't that bad of a play. The way Though beat me in the one game was by safe swapping the Alolan Marowak, and then I swapped in my Bastiodon, and he left the Bastiodon healthy enough for the Azumarill to farm down. So ideally, you don't want to shield your Bastiodon at all when you swap into the Alolan Marowak. You don't want any sort of farm down opportunity. So anyways, this is a Scrafty lead. It's usually an okay lead for Shadow Victreebel, but he just goes for power-up punches instead of the foul play. So I get to destroy the Scrafty without even using a shield. Hypno comes in, and I use a Leaf Blade, so I win that switch advantage, or I win that lead matchup with one shield to none. And I feel good swapping in Vigoroth into pretty much anything. So they pop in they swap out to Azumarill, which is fine with me. I'm just gonna let Vigoroth go down because I know Shadow Victreebel is there to deal with Azumarill. Vigoroth actually can win the 2-shield if they aren't running Ice Beam or if they try and go for a Hydro Pump or a Play Rough. But that's not necessary in this. And this is just a Hypno versus Bastiodon matchup. Very Bastiodon favor unless they're on Focus Blast. I wasn't counting moves, so pop the shield, it's a Thunder Punch. But I know that with 2 shields, I feel pretty safe here. It'd be pretty low percentage for me to lose, and that's just 2 more confusions. There's no way that's a Focus Blast. I just let it through just in case he is trying to get both my shields and charge all the way up to a Focus Blast. But yeah, there's the new clothes. So I'm using the old pose still. I like the season 1 pose quite a bit, but See, so here's an Azumarill lead, and they swap into the Haunter, so this is absolutely ideal situation for me. I'm just gonna have to shield one Shadow Punch, and right now Victreebel is low HP, but I know they have an Azumarill that I can deal with later. And they bring in Skarmory. I don't know why I do this. I throw the Leaf Blade, but I really shouldn't, because not only does it not really do any damage, but it wears the switch timer down for them. And that's completely to their advantage. So I might have just thrown the game away with that one misplay. So Azumarill comes in with a low enough or high enough HP and low enough HP on Vigoroth that they can farm down, which is kind of a bit of a dangerous scenario here. But I'm just going to try and get as many body slams out as I can. Notice that, I guess you can't, too late to notice on this one, but I try and do a counter in between charge moves, just so they don't get extra bubbles in, which is kind of important in the long run, because those fights drag on a long time. And they have 2 shields to 0, so they think they're all good, but Bastiodon versus Skarmory, if they don't have Flash Cannon, then you're completely golden. Doesn't matter how many shields they have. And a lot more running Brave Bird. So the Brave Bird change was actually an inadvertent, pretty big buff to the Victreebel Bastiodon lineups. Next battle versus Gary Puck and Oak. Fantastic name, but unfortunately this is a mirror match. And this is not exactly a mirror match, but a Victreebel mirror. And this game goes absolutely awful for me. I remember this one. So I get Leaf Tornado with the attack drop, so I have to swap out. Thinking it's a mirror with the Deoxys Defense, I swap into Bastiodon, trying to get the Deoxys Defense versus Bastiodon matchup, so then I can later get the Vigoroth Bastiodon matchup. But instead it's Shadow Mawile, and Shadow Mawile beats Bastiodon very handily in the 2 shield, and even the 1 shield, if because I don't want to shield a power up punch. Maybe I should have. But Vigoroth comes out, and even Vigoroth with double power up punched Mawile does not do very well. Takes a power up punch, which is a ton of damage, and I'm gonna throw the body slam, and they're gonna let it through because they know they have this game pretty much in the bag at this point. So yeah, Munchlax was their safe swap. I didn't expect that either. Lining up the Vigoroth against Munchlax is absolutely fantastic though. You double resist the licks and deal super effective damage back with counter, and you both have body slam. But unfortunately, this Munchlax will have just a little bit too much HP for my Shadow Victreebel to get the job done. So well played by them. I've honestly been thinking about Shadow Mawile for a little bit here, either as a safe swap or as the Bastiodon replacement. So if someone can get to rank 10 with it, then I'm sure I'll try it out. I've been saving rare candies for it. So this match we have the Tropius lead. Notice I don't throw a charge move until they swap, because I want to save up my energy just in case I can potentially win back switch advantage. Unfortunately, Deoxys Defense is one of those Pokemon that you can't win back switch advantage with Vigoroth or with Deoxys Defense on your side. So I have to go into Bastiodon here because their Deoxys Defense is loaded with energy and will just shred the Victreebel or force shields. And I kind of want to have 2 shields going into this thing. Unfortunately, I do take 3 Rock Slides and a ton of counters from this Bastiodon, or on my Bastiodon, and they come in with a Stunfisk. So it's not looking great right now because they have a Tropius still on switch advantage. I'm gonna try and get to a Sludge Bomb here, I think. See if they let it through. That's my only win condition here. And they don't. So that's the surrender. Even if they did let it through, dealing with the Galarian Stunfisk would be tough. And there's the Pikachu Libre from your first set after hitting rank 10. It's cute, honestly pretty cute. But yeah, Vigoroth has been it's been working very well. I think I'll continue, or try to continue my climb with it. It's a bit late in the season for me to start learning new matchups to try and compete at the very top. This is I Play Tennis LOL. He is, I think, top 10 on the leaderboard, perennial leaderboard player, very good player, and he always leads with this Razor Leaf Tropius. So versus Razor Leaf Tropius, I like to stay in and try and remember what they did last. whether I want to bait with the Leaf Blade or just go straight Sludge Bomb. It's about 50-50 whether or not they'll shield the Sludge Bomb. So I go with the Sludge Bomb. I don't remember what he's done. I haven't seen him this season until now, and he shields it. So I'm in a pretty bad position here. Tropius gets the Leaf Blade off, and Sableye comes in. So I'll throw the Bulldoze. Bulldoze actually does quite a bit of damage to Sableye, and I'm going to try and win back Switch Advantage at all costs. I don't really know what other member his team is, but generally Tropius is paired with Galarian Stunfisk. That's like a fantastic duo, and it would make sense Sableye's the safe swap here. So I would like shields to go into the next round to deal with the Galarian Stunfisk, but I just can't save them and win back Switch Advantage. So Tropius ends up with a little bit of health, and as expected, Galarian Stunfisk comes out, and I don't have any shields. Rock Slide is going to beat Shadow Victreebel right now. Earthquake could have done it if I was at higher health. There was just no chance I was winning there once the Sludge Bomb was shielded. Yeah, he's a very good player with the team that counters mine, so I'm not too upset about losing that one. So an Azumarill lead, and we see another Sableye. So at this point, I'm thinking it's another Alolan Marowak. It's a very common team, but if you can beat the Pokemon that comes in with your Shadow Victreebel, stay in, because you're going to have full knowledge of their team. And once you have full knowledge of their team, you're going to know right away what you can do to beat them or not. So they come in with Altaria, and I just use Vigoroth as the safe switch here. I'm trying to burn down the switch clock and deal as much damage as I can. So I'm just going to throw Body Slams. Like, look how much these Body Slams do. Deoxys Defense can't do this much damage to Altaria without Rock Slide, and even then, like, with a shield, Altaria has no issue. I even almost get to the next Body Slam, but which would completely wear off the switch clock, but I can't quite make it. So I swap into Bastiodon. Switch clock is completely over. I'll throw Leaf Blades, even though probably doesn't really matter, but this is just to be safe. For 2 Leaf Blades, I'm going to force 2 shields just in case the bubbles end up adding up to be enough to KO my Shadow Victreebel, but I'll shield here. It's a play rough, so finish off the Azumarill, and not quite enough for the Altaria, but Bastiodon's full health. So this match was not very close. As soon as you have something like a favorable lead swapping into another favorable lead, Shadow Victreebel almost single-handedly wins those matches. Alright, so this next matchup here, we've got Shadow Victreebel versus Deoxys Defense. Deoxys Defense, fantastic against the other 2 Pokemon on my team. I need to eliminate this threat as soon as I can. I throw the Leaf Blade because he doesn't even throw a charge move yet, which is odd. He's usually probably charging up to 2 Psycho Boosts, so yeah. First Psycho Boost I'll shield. It's IV dependent if the second Psycho Boost will KO, but I'll shield it. I don't want to take any risks, and out comes Shiftry. So Shiftry does really, really well against Deoxys Defense. But Vigoroth, this is one where Vigoroth has a better matchup. I do quite a bit of damage with counters and force a shield with Body Slam before going down to 2 Leaf Blades because I have no shields. So at this point, with Deoxys Defense, this Shiftry would be much higher HP. I barely get the Shiftry down before they get to a Leaf Blade, and now they have a Bastiodon come out. I have a full Leaf Blade charged up that I wouldn't have if that were Deoxys Defense instead. And I swap into my my Bastiodon. They don't swap right away, which is a bit confusing to me. They in fact let me charge up to a charge move, but I decide to try and farm down anyways. So this is really risky. Luckily they don't have Thunderbolt, and that's a Psycho Boost instead. But this game is going to be down to the wire. These Bastiodon mirror matches are absolutely thrilling. I'm thinking about maybe having to sack my Shadow Victreebel to a charge move here, but they somehow let me get to a Flamethrower before them. So that's a very close game. I think one fast move one way or the other, and that ends up being a loss instead. So Shadow Machamp versus Shadow Victreebel. This is a very favorable matchup. They swap out right away into Galarian Stunfisk, and this is another Pokemon that is pretty good versus my team. I realize that that's a Rock Slide, but I want to keep my Shadow Victreebel fairly healthy because Shadow Victreebel is the Pokemon that has to deal with Machamp later. And you can't deal with Machamp if you don't have very much health because the counters do hurt. But Vigoroth is able to farm down the Galarian Stunfisk. So Body Slam doesn't do very much damage, but if you can get the Galarian Stunfisk to half before swapping your Vigoroth, you can just farm them all the way down. And I throw 2 Body Slams at the Azumarill, and they come out with the Machamp once I've expended my energy. So I know this is probably a cross chop, but I'm going to shield it anyways, just because Shadow Victreebel is going to be my MVP this game. I need Shadow Victreebel to take down this Azumarill. And I know I have a full health Bastiodon left too, so I might as well switch over. I can absorb some of the energy before I have to go back in with Shadow Victreebel, because he did get a couple bubbles off versus Vigoroth, and if he gets to an Ice Beam, then Shadow Victreebel is absolutely done. So, Bastiodon. Against Bastiodon, I've started dealing a bit more damage and then swapping out. I've been charging up to Leaf Blade. If they shield, I'll swap out. And it looks like it's going to be the Bastiodon double grass line. I usually expect the Bastiodon double grass line now, and I get punished when it's not. But in this case, it's Cherrim Sunny. I get to 2 body slams before they even get to a Weather Ball. So we're going to see a shield come out there, and I'll shield up this Weather Ball because I think I can get to another body slam, and I don't. So that was a mistake. I probably should have let Vigoroth go down, but we both swap into our Bastiodons at the same time as it was a double KO, and he used his charge move, which is Stone Edge, which does almost no damage to Bastiodon. Unfortunately, Victreebel gets to Leaf Blade before I get to a charge move, and I'll swap into my Victreebel, knowing that I can farm them down since I have a bit higher HP, and I'm able to get to that last crucial Leaf Blade. This game would have been really, really close if I hadn't. I think I still would have won as I had a full Flamethrower charged up, but it would have been very, very close. So this is maybe one of those games where IVs matter. But also one of those games where you see how Vigoroth with the body slams and stuff does a bit better than the Deoxys Defense into the Sunny Cherrim. But the main advantage would be versus the Ghost types and the Dark types that are starting to take over Great League. Vigoroth double resist Ghost, whereas Deoxys Defense takes super effective damage from Ghost and just takes neutral damage from Dark, whereas Deoxys Defense would take super effective damage from Dark and is able to hit back with that super effective counter. So Pokemon such as Scrafty and Umbreon and Drifblim, Alolan Marowak aren't as threatening to this team. So we're going to see another Shadow Machamp here. They decide to stay in. So 5 counters is a cross chop always, and you can let it through and win, but you're going to come out not very healthy, so it's a bit risky. Luckily, though, if they are leading the Machamp, they usually don't have another fighter on their team. So I'm going to, in this case, elect to let my Shadow Victreebel go down to keep switch advantage, because if there is a Scrafty, my Shadow Victreebel is too low to deal with it. But instead it's an Azumarill. So maybe keeping the Victreebel alive in this case would have been a better play. But I just fire off the Stone Edge, pop over to my Vigoroth. And that was too fast for anything besides an Ice Beam. So I can keep my shields up a little bit and just pump out these body slams. If they want to keep their Azumarill alive, they're going to have to start shielding. They have an Umbreon on the back too, but Bastiodon into Umbreon is a pretty favorable matchup as well. In this case, it's an Ice Beam. I'm just going to let it through, as I should be able to farm down this Azumarill with Bastiodon before they get to anything besides an Ice Beam. Unfortunately, I was not kind of moved very well, and they very clearly did not get to anything more than an Ice Beam. And this game, because I shield there, is going to be much closer than it really should be. So this Umbreon is just firing off foul plays. I know that's the highest damage move that I'm going to have to block in the rest of this game, so I'm going to throw out a shield and hopefully beat this Umbreon to Stone Edge before they get to 2 foul plays. And I do. I'm pretty sure Umbreon had just enough energy there, and Azumarill comes in and Smackdown is enough to finish him off. So that game was a lot closer than it should have been. It's favorable matchups all around. But once again, an opportunity where Vigoroth is about as good as Deoxys Defense. So this game, we see Altaria. I think this game, I might actually make a video about this game and the switch timer, because this was a really good example of how to use the switch timer for your advantage. So I don't throw charge move because I want them to swap out before I charge moves, and he's waiting for my body slam before he swaps to Vigoroth. So I throw my Body Slam, and now our swap timers are completely out of sync. So I know this, and I'm able to bring in my Shadow Victreebel and finish off their Vigoroth. So my switch timer's up now, but their switch timer's not up. So I'm going to swap in Bastiodon and just smack down as much as I can. They're throwing a Sky Attack just to wear down the charge timer, but it might already be a little too late. I've gotten a ton of damage down on the Altaria. That's within farming range for Shadow Victreebel even, if I have a shield for Sky Attack. And this Azumarill is going to Ice Beam. I had to let them Ice Beam there. If they Hydro Pump, I think I just lost regardless of if I shielded or not, because I need that shield for Shadow Victreebel. And now my switch timer's up again, and theirs isn't. So I can shield this Ice Beam and take out their Azumarill. They can't switch because the switch timers are out of sync. So that's the danger when you try and weaken the opponent's swap a little bit first before swapping out, is that these switch timers can get out of sync, and then it's a much harder game to kind of keep track of, and the person who's keeping track of it can usually take advantage and in this case win. So this was a pretty awful scenario if you think about it. Awful lead into a mirror swap once you've taken some damage. So that's a guaranteed loss on the switch advantage against an awful lead. And I'm still able to win it because of clever swapping. So Drifblim lead. This is absolutely awful as well. The way I play this is different depending on the game. In this case, I swap after an Icy Wind. Sometimes they charge up extra before Icy Winding. So then I don't feel bad. I'll throw a Leaf Blade after they Icy Wind, and they usually won't shield it because it's resisted and you're debuffed. So I just charge up against this Drifblim, throws an Icy Wind, and waits for me to throw a Body Slam before he even swaps out. I'm just throwing Body Slams now, even though I have a debuffed Vigoroth, and he's probably going to try and farm me down here. But once again, we have those the switch timers out of sync a little bit. And I'm able to swap into my Shadow Victreebel and farm down the Azumarill. So they come out with a Hypno, I think, instead. Shadow Hypno, which is... you can see how fast Victreebel just gets deleted there. And I identify that I need my Vigoroth, or my Bastiodon will be my MVP this game. Bastiodon is the better Pokemon against both Drifblim and Shadow Hypno. So we can see this. They swap into Drifblim, which is honestly, I think, a mistake here. I guess it just shows that they don't have Focus Blast. But they swap into Drifblim, and they throw the Shadow Ball before the Icy Wind, which is a bit questionable. You want to throw the Icy Wind first, but they come in with their Shadow Hypno. I over-tap by accident, and it doesn't end up mattering because they don't have a powerful charge move stored up, or Shadow Ball, which is what I was scared of. And I can just Stone Edge them down. So Drifblim lead, still very winnable. But I got lucky in this case due to the fact that both their other Pokemon were weak to Bastiodon, or Bastiodon had good matchups, and Vigoroth was a good pivot there. So Abomasnow lead, this is pretty bad as well. Luckily, both Pokemon in the back deal pretty well with Abomasnow. I'm just going to take the Weather Ball. It does quite a bit of damage, as you can see, but I probably have to save my shields for other Pokemon. I'm going to throw a Body Slam. Notice I'm going to attack once, one counter, and then another Body Slam, because counter is a 2-turn move, and Bubble is a 3-turn move. So 1, 2, 3. I should have done a 4th, but I was scared that they might throw a charge move, and I'd rather get as much damage out as possible. So they did actually throw a charge move, so that ended up being the right play. But generally, if you can't do it in 1, you should do it in 4. So this is the ideal scenario. Bastiodon is out. I can farm down. I should not have shielded. I don't know what I'm doing. Watching replays, you realize all your mistakes. But they're going to come out with the Abomasnow, which is kind of baffling to me, because at this point, if something is worse against Bastiodon than Abomasnow, then there's some issues. And it's a Haunter, so I'm not sure why they didn't go into Haunter first. Haunter has a decent matchup against Bastiodon, especially with the shield advantage. But instead they try and match up Haunter against Victreebel, which is, in my opinion, extremely Victreebel favored. I get a ton of energy. They're able to farm me down on the Abomasnow, but they're going to have to get more than just 2 energy balls off to fade a Bastiodon. So that was a bit of questionable play. What I probably would have done was, if they had just swapped into Haunter, was swap immediately into Shadow Victreebel, and then just let their Abomasnow beat me, farm it down with my Bastiodon, and bring that energy in against the Haunter instead, if they had played it in the way that I kind of expected. So Umbreon lead, I like to kind of get quite a bit of damage on the Umbreon while they're getting Snarls off, and they actually don't shield the Leaf Blade, so this is a loaded Umbreon, but very, very low HP, and they swap into the Toxicroak, so this is also why Vigoroth, I think, might be better in this meta than Deoxys Defense, because Vigoroth can bait out the fighter. So in this case, Toxicroak is a huge threat to Bastiodon. With Deoxys Defense in this game, Toxicroak probably ends up in the back versus Bastiodon, but because Vigoroth is swapped into, it baits the Toxicroak out, and then there's no Toxicroak for later. Unfortunately, this team has a Registeel, so there's no real winning this anyways once I've already expended those shields to beat the Toxicroak. I'm trying my best farming down the Umbreon, but they still have a shield, and I know this game is pretty much over at that point. Yeah. Focus Blast doesn't KO. I try to get to 2 Flamethrowers here. It's a little bit ambitious because Registeel charges so fast with Lock On. But I actually end up being one fast move away before the Flash Cannon comes through. So closer than expected, but Registeel is still a menace to this team. The rise of Galarian Stunfisk might have helped as well, because now there's just more Galarian Stunfisks around than there are Registeels, which Shadow Victreebel can more easily deal with, Vigoroth can more easily deal with. Bastiodon still has a tough time, but what can you do? We end that set with a 4 out of 5, I think. And I think this was my last set of the day. We'll see what the rating goes up to. Yeah, 3153. So that's where I ended today. Hopefully I can climb a little bit further in the future, get back up to that first page of the leaderboard. But yeah, if you guys like the video, let me know. If you let me know if you can still hear the fan in the background, I applied some more noise gates and noise suppressions to it. And of course, if you like this kind of content, some more educational content or gameplay content, then feel free to throw out a subscribe, and so you can see when the next video comes out. Hopefully the next one will either be a gameplay video of the climb or just some more experimentation, and I'll probably release a mega post later about all the potential replacements, so that almost anyone can build a team that can succeed at a rank 10 or top 100 level.